And the reason we do that, Ronald, let's go straight to the Rock there where you are seeing John Steenhuisen speaking at the moment.
So we can keep making progress there and getting things done for the people in the Coega municipality. Thanks, Siv.
Thanks, John. I'm going to take a round of about 5 questions, if there are any, and then we can take it from there. Nicholas?
Do one by one, or you want to take a round?
Okay, cool. Nicholas, your leave. Okay, Nicholas, over to you. If anyone else feels the need, we'll take it from there.
Is it a bit too early to start talking about coalitions? Because, first of all, congratulations on the DA retaining the Coega municipality, and it looks as though you will hold on to other municipalities where you're already governed. But places where you were hoping to, at the very least, get a majority, it looks very uncertain. I'm looking at Johannesburg Metro Council, Tshwane Metro Council, and even Nelson Mandela Bay. So at this stage, do you have any comment whatsoever about coalitions and the possibility of the Democratic Alliance entering into such?
Well, no, not at this stage. We want to see what those final results are there. Before we start looking at the various permutations about what would be possible. I still think we can get majorities in some of those areas, and I'll certainly hopefully look at making a few announcements later in the day. But obviously that horse trading will start once the final votes are in or there and thereabouts, so we have a better lie of the land. I think there's still a lot of points to go on the board, and I think there's a lot of water to go under the bridge before the metros start being in a position where we can, outside of Cape Town, of course, start seeing what the lie of the land is.
If you just indulge me a little bit of a follow-on there. I mean, you were very unequivocal in the run-up to the election that you would not enter into any governing arrangements whatsoever with the Economic Freedom Parties.
Correct.
Are there any other parties that are off the table for you?
No, as I've said very, very clearly, that we will not go into government with the EFF because of our experience with them in Joburg. And I think that the fact that they were running the show behind the scenes, as they've openly admitted, put us in a problematic position with the vanilla fleet tender and all those things. So they don't share the values and principles of the DA. We've said we're willing to talk to parties that share the values of non-racialism, respect for the rule of law and the Constitution, a social market economy, and a capable state without cadre deployment. If you believe in those and you can come together with us on a common program of action for a particular municipality, we'll be willing to talk to you and see what the realms of the possibles are. There will be a number of options, I'm sure, that will present themselves, and we will act in the best interests of them. I know where your next question's going, and I'm going to say to you quite unequivocally, that party has been the party that has been the architect of cadre deployment. It is a party that talks non-racialism, but doesn't act non-racialism. So it will be very, very difficult in that instance to do a deal with them, unless there's a major shift after this election in their attitude and behaviour.
Cool.
What do you think you did in Coega as the DA? What is it that's so special that you believe that so early it came out and clearly voted for the DA to be a governing party?
It's a good dose of 5 years of DA majority government, where we've been able to deliver to people there. I think that if one looks at it, on all the markers in the Eastern Cape, it's come out as a top-run municipality in the Eastern Cape. It just shows what a DA majority can do in any particular environment where we've given a majority, we're able to get things done for people there. Now we get to take it to the next level for the next 5 years. That's why our manifesto said, a record of action, a promise of more. It's found traction with the people there who've entrusted us with another 5 years of DA government there, and we hope to do a lot more in Coega municipality, and we hope that Coega is going to be the beachhead from which we can spring other DA majorities there in the Eastern Cape.
Nizik?
From the Mail and Guardian. So you spoke about Coega, but you also governed in Tshwane as well as in the Nelson Mandela Bay, and it looks like we're going to see a hung metro in both those metros. What do you think is the reasons for this? Has it resonated, your messages, has it resonated with the people of Tshwane and Nelson Mandela Bay?
Well, we'll have to see when the results come in, whether it's resonated or not. We've asked for a majority there. We still believe that there's a lot of votes that have got to be counted, and we will have a look at them afterwards. But, if we don't have a majority there on our own, we will look at forming coalitions. But if coalitions are not possible, I'm very happy and comfortable for the DA to go into the opposition benches and be an excellent opposition there, just like we are in Parliament.
Another question.
Sorry, just one more and then to you, Karim.
Sorry.
Do you think you've done a good enough job in Tshwane to retain the metrics, not following it from the revenues?
I think we've done as good a job as we could under the circumstances. It's very difficult to run a minority government. It's very difficult to run a council when you're living literally from council meeting to council meeting. It's very difficult to put a 5-year plan on the table to do it when you've got that minority government running and a provincial government who spent the last 5 years harassing the DA administration there, placing it under administration, forcing us to go to court to get their illegal grab of the municipality ruled unlawful and unconstitutional. And I think it set our program back there quite significantly. Had we had a free hand there and had the provincial government allowed us to do the job that we were elected to do, I think that we could have done a lot more. And that's why we've made the pitch to the residents of Tshwane that we would like to have a bigger majority so that we don't have to live from council meeting to council meeting and that we can have an uninterrupted term of government without the provincial government trying to undermine the municipality at every single opportunity. So given the circumstances, I think we have done well there. Is it where we'd like to have been? Absolutely not. We would never accept what we've done as good enough. We want to always do more. And that's certainly what our plan is for Tshwane if we're returned with a majority in this next election.
Karine?
A question about voter turnout yesterday and discouraged voters. I saw your party agents were taking very careful note. Did they make a note or a tally of how many voters were discouraged from voting, either through broken systems or the rain or the weather or long queues? Or
We're busy in the process of collating that information, but we identified 151 voting stations across the country yesterday where there were significant problems with the voter management device and where people were being turned back in significant numbers or giving up on the fact that they weren't prepared to wait in the wind, the rain or the cold or the baking heat in those queues anymore. Those people have been horribly disenfranchised. We're busy running the numbers, so hopefully we can come up to a quantum of just how much the IEC's inefficiencies and mistakes yesterday cost us in terms of votes, and obviously would use that as a basis for any potential complaints. But again, to record my sincere disappointment with the complete failure of the IEC to be able to, in many parts of the country, run an efficient, effective election yesterday. You've got one job. You've got 5 years to prepare for that one job. And we ended up with these problems yesterday. And that's why I've been on the record saying that I think they do need to come before Parliament and explain to us exactly what went wrong, why it went wrong, and what they're going to do about repairing the situation so that we don't have these glitches taking place. They were warned about the voter management devices. We saw right from the very first morning of special votes that they couldn't cope with those small numbers and that they were going to be unlikely to cope with those big numbers. I mean, we had a very low turnout. Can you imagine what would have happened if there was a big turnout on the day? Those stations would have been completely ground to a halt as those machines failed one by one.
So are you saying essentially, John, that this hasn't been a free and fair election?
That's not what I'm saying at all, and I'd appreciate if people didn't put words in my mouth. I'm saying to you I've got concerns about the conduct of the IEC in this particular election. I've had concerns during the year about their conduct heading into this election, and I think it's time that they are forced to account for what they do and where their errors of judgment have been made and where there have been systemic failures.
Sorry, just Linda Namasakana from ENCA. I want to know, what are the political implications for you if the DA doesn't do as well as it did in 2016? I know Musi Maimane was expected to resign. Will you resign if you get lower results?
With respect, ma'am, you're asking to give a diagnosis on me before we've even seen the doctor. We'll worry about that once we know what the results on the board say.
what role did Halloween play in that campaign video of yours?
Which one?
There was one where you're standing in the dark and you look...
Well, I think it was very indicative of exactly where we find ourselves as a country. We stand in a country where we've got low stage 4 load shedding. The country's in the dark because it's got a government that cannot get the basics right. I think it was absolutely spot on the money. And that if you want the lights switched on, you want the sun to shine, you better vote for the DA because we get things done.
So it wasn't Halloween video?
No, it wasn't a Halloween video, but if you want to see the Halloween videos, I suggest you go onto another party's website. There's lots of them.
Cool. John, I'm going to wrap up. Lizzie, and then one more, and then we're wrapping up, okay?
John, I'm listening to Slee's question. I think it is a fair question. And looking at the projections, the CSIR has come out with projections, and they indicate that you will have a drop in terms of the voters, the results. So it's fair to ask whether this is an indication of your own leadership or of the leadership, the incumbent leadership.
With respect, Ezeka, you wrote me off yesterday already in the Mail and Guardian, so I don't know why you're asking me this question again. We will wait till the results come in and we will make a call upon that. The benchmark is not the 2016 remark. The benchmark is the last election. We got 20.7% of the vote in the last election. I'm going to be happy with growth, consolidation and progress from the DA from that particular election. Came back from a very tough election where a leader walked off the job. There's very few parties in the world that survived that. I'm going to be very pleased with growth and momentum in this particular election.
I just want to quickly find out, with the knowledge that you have of the Kocha municipality, are you in a position to share what are some of the early plans that you have for the area?
Well, it's mainly about electrification and housing development and delivery there. There are parts of the municipality there where we need to finish the job in terms of rolling out infrastructure and then, of course, improving the infrastructure in town. It is a huge tourism attraction out that area. There's lots of work that needs to be done, particularly as we start in the post-COVID recovery to bring tourists into South Africa to ensure that they spend their money here. We want to make it one of the premier tourist destinations in South Africa and a must visit on any international visitors' agenda, because with tourism comes jobs, and that's a big priority. In DA-run municipalities, wherever we govern, the top priority is going to be jobs and how you use infrastructure and make sure you're going to proper basic services as the bedrock upon which job creation and economic development can happen. We saw yesterday the disastrous consequences where service delivery fails. Another company in the Northwest Province, a poultry company, leaving because of poor service delivery. They're taking 2,000 jobs with them. That's on top of the 3,000 that Clover withdrew. Service delivery and poor service delivery has a consequence, and that's why you need a government that's going to get things done, to make sure that the taps run, the electricity works, and to make sure that we are able to provide that basic platform upon which a municipality can grow.
Right, we just have one last question from Diane, and then that's that, and we will have hopefully another briefing a little bit later.
Yeah, just a question. Yesterday I spoke to Sonny Simali and he said that it's not just what he called a trend in where the ballots were not being issued in their form, so where there was shortage of ballots, and also where there were issues with these smart devices. He said there would be some engagement with the IEC on that. Has the IEC given the DA any response on what he identified as a trend, number one? And then also, beyond having conversations with the IEC, what is it your party going to deal with?
Well, we've obviously got the party liaison committee that's working and meeting, and we've got representatives on that. These concerns were brought to their attention yesterday and are in the process of being processed. I think there were some objections that were laid as well, and those in the process of being dealt with at the PLC. Obviously, we'll have to see what the response is from the IEC before we decide what the next step is in terms of taking that forward.